all have our lower self and our higher self, to get the real potential out of us. Like you were saying about the artists, it's a right to be unorganized. I still would say, try to be as much as organized as possible, then you can create more.
If you can.
Yeah, if you can, but you should always aspire for improving yourself.
Well, I would say the lower self and the higher self are more in terms of what I'm doing with what I have. So if I'm taking my personality and I'm using it, like let's say, for example, there's some people that have what we call an away from personality. Okay? According to people who analyze personality, there's about 40 different characteristics you can look at. I don't have them all memorized. And one of them is what we would call towards and away from. So whether you motivate yourself through positive ways or through negative ways. In other words, you get yourself to do things by saying, oh, that was a foolish thing that I did. Why did I do that thing? Oh, I never do anything right. Or do you motivate yourself by saying, yes, I did this thing right today? And how do you see the world? Do you see the world primarily in terms of what's wrong or in terms of what's right? And each of us is somewhere on that scale. The extremes are very dangerous, by the way. If you only see the good things, you'll do things like, take drugs and jump off a cliff. You won't see any danger anywhere. You'll never see the downsides of anything. So that's not really helpful. And of course, if you're only negative, you probably won't get out of bed in the morning. So I don't know if there's probably anybody who's all the way at the extremes. But let's say, because we tend to think that the people who are positively oriented are better. We tend to understand things that way, that a person who motivates himself in a positive way, that's better than a person who motivates themselves negatively. Now, I would say that it's true if you use that negative tendency to beat yourself up and beat other people up, that's your lower self. If you use that tendency to see what's wrong with Maya, then that would be a higher self. So I'm saying this, the tendency itself is neutral. Even a tendency that we might think is in and of itself negative, or a tendency that we might think is in and of itself positive, it's not a fact. It's what you do with it. If you're a very positive thinking person and you just go around thinking everything is wonderful, then that's a lower self. If you appreciate people's genuine good qualities, that's a higher self. Does that make sense? And I think it's the same with being organized or not being organized. Not being organized generally is a sign of a person who's what we call a random person, or a person who has lateral thinking rather than linear thinking. And one of the prime examples of that is Albert Einstein. So Albert Einstein had extreme lateral thinking. He was able to jump to conclusions without going through the intermediate steps. In fact, he didn't even know what the intermediate steps were. He would come to the conclusion, and then he would have to ask other mathematicians to work out the formula. He had no idea how he got it. It would just come to him as a finished product. And he was so much a lateral thinker and a big picture person that he once went to speak at some major convention without socks on. He just didn't notice that he didn't have socks on. Just didn't notice. I mean, there's another time that he was invited by some European royalty, and they paid for his journey, but he just got in the third-class car, even though they paid for the first-class car. He just didn't notice what kind of ticket that he had. And so when he got off the train, they were waiting at another part of the train to pick him up, so they didn't see him, and he ended up just like walking to the place and missing his ride. He just wasn't aware of detailed things at all. So, he would forget to cut his hair. That was before that people used to have long hair as a fashion. But you see with this, he would just forget. He'd forget I was supposed to comb my hair. Oh yeah, I didn't comb my hair. And there's another time he went to speak at some place and he forgot to pack a suit. He just had some casual clothes to wear. He just forgot. So, but that goes together. He wouldn't have been able to come up with the scientific theories he did unless he was that kind of a person. So, you don't ask Albert Einstein to pack your suitcase for you. But it's not that he has to work at that. It's not that you say, okay, you really need to work at that. No, probably what he should do is ask somebody else to pack a suitcase for him. So also, that's one reason why we work in teams. It's one reason why we work in societies. So the areas that I'm not good at, I can have other people who do those things. And we can balance each other out. it's good to sometimes have some experience in our areas of weakness. Not that we say, okay, I can never do such and such because that's who I am. I mean, for example, I was telling this person who said she didn't like change. I said, I prefer to have things very scheduled and planned, to know where I'm going to be, what I'm going to be doing, what's going to happen. And it was in 2006 that Krishna put me in some experiences where if I was going to be like that, I was going to be miserable and really upset with everybody all the time, because I was in a place where the devotees who were arranging my schedule kept changing everything. They changed my ticket 3 times. As far as where I was going. I was in one part of the world, and it was, okay, first you're going to go to Bahrain, then to Abu Dhabi, then to Qatar. No. Okay, so that was what was happening. And then the next day, no, first you're going to go to Dubai, and then you're going to go to Bahrain, and then you're going to, okay, that's what we're going to do. And then, a few days later, oh, we changed the ticket again. And it's like, oh my God. And they were doing things like, all right, you're going to have a program at 7 o'clock and going to do this, and then at 10 minutes to 7, they said, oh, by the way, what you're going to do is you're going to go give a class for some children. Oh, okay, I thought I was giving a class for some other people. No, we've changed it. And when is this class going to be? Oh, 5 minutes from now. Oh, okay. What age children? Oh, 5 to 14. 5 to 14. All right. Okay. So I'm in the car planning all the, what I'm going to do. I'm going to do this and that and that. And I get there and I say, do you have a flip chart? Flip chart? No, we don't have a flip chart. Do you have a board? No, we don't have a board. Do you have pieces of paper and crayons? No, we don't have that. Okay. Now what are we going to do? 10 seconds to figure it out. And I've got 20 adults there watching me and taking notes. Here's the world famous expert Urmila, who's going to show us how to teach our children. That happened to me twice. In 2 different countries. They did the same thing to me. Okay, you're teaching a class in 5 minutes. One time it was 40 kids, one time it was 80 kids. My God. And then Michael, who keeps my itinerary on the website, he's always writing me, can't you please give me advance notice of where you're going and what you're doing? I said, before I try. Anyway, in that 3 weeks, I learned that I could live without a schedule and I could still be happy, that it was possible. I thought it was not possible. I thought, there's no way I can live without a schedule and be happy. It's impossible. And Krishna said, hey, you really can. So I prefer to have a schedule. I have a calendar and I write things on it, and I'm more comfortable knowing that I'm going to do this at this time and this at that time. I'm more comfortable preparing. I'm more comfortable making a plan. But I found out that I can still live and be happy and get along with people without a plan. So I do think it's very, very good that in our areas of weakness, sometimes Krishna pushes you, okay, why don't we try to expand in this little way? Why don't we try to grow in this little way? Maybe you're a real random type and you're sharing a room with someone that if you're not a little organized, they're going to go out the window. And you have to learn to adjust a little bit. But if we put our energy into trying to be a different kind of person, if I thought, well, I'll really please Krishna if I was more random, more spontaneous, then I'd be wasting all my time trying to be a more, random person. And then the only thing that would happen is I'd get another body next life where I could be a random person. So that's not really the point. The point is more, am I using what I have for Krishna? The point isn't so much that, oh, I've got a bicycle and a car would be so much better, and why don't I put a motor on my bicycle? The point is I have a bicycle, let me use it for Krishna. Because if I really want to have a motor, then I just get another body with a motor. That's one of the things that's propelling us from one body to another, to another, to another. Well, maybe if I was this kind of person, then I'd be happy. Or if we're devotees. If I was this kind of person, then maybe I'd be a better devotee. If I was this kind of person, then maybe I'd be a better devotee. If I was this kind of person, maybe I'd be a better devotee. And then we just keep trying to be all those sorts of persons. It's the same as the materialist thinking. If I were this kind of person, then I'd be happy. If I were this kind of creature, then I'd be happy. If I could be like this, then I'd be happy. If I would be like this, then I'd be happy. I think if I would like this, then I'd be Krishna conscious. If I would like this, then I'd be Krishna conscious. No, just whatever you are, be Krishna conscious. Whatever